Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
This deep dive, well, this time we're exploring the answer from Quizzypedia. Season 206, question 14 to be exact.
Okay.
And the category is opera.
Right.
Ready for the question?
Shoot.
This renowned Italian soprano, often hailed as La Voce d'Angelo, the voice of an angel, was celebrated for her powerful and emotive voice, often compared to that of Maria Callas. She was a leading figure at both La Scala in Milan and the Metropolitan Opera in New York during the mid-20th century, known for her roles in operas by Verdi and Puccini, who is this iconic opera singer.
Ah, Renata Tebaldi, of course.
Exactly. Let's delve a bit into what made Renata Tebaldi such a prominent figure in the opera world.
Well, I think Renata Tebaldi, she was often called La Voce d'Angelo, right? The voice of an angel. And she really embodied what Italian opera was during her time.
Her career almost seems to be like woven into the entire trajectory of opera in that era. What was it about her, would you say, that resonated so deeply with audiences, particularly when we think about her work with Verdi and Puccini?
Tebaldi, she had this really unique ability to convey raw emotion through her singing. And that resonated deeply with audiences, especially in those operas, Verdi and Puccini, which can be quite, heart-wrenching at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this was matched with, her dedication to bel canto, that tradition, emphasizing beautiful tone and that seamless legato. And that made her captivating. She wasn't just hitting the note. She was really inhabiting these characters and bringing this incredible depth of feeling to every single role.
It's interesting that you mentioned bel canto because it seems almost, I don't know, maybe paradoxical isn't the right word, but this commitment to a very traditional style. But she brought such a freshness to it, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. So many singers of her era were devoted to bel canto, but Tebaldi had this incredible ability to, how should I say this? It was like she breathed new life into these classic roles. It wasn't just imitation. It was like this deep understanding and respect for the tradition, but then infused with her own artistry and emotional depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really what resonated with audiences, I think. Like they were experiencing these operas anew through her performances.
It does feel that way. Like you can't really separate her from this very specific period in opera's history.
Right.
Let's rewind a little bit, go back to her beginnings. Our sources say she was born in Pesaro, Italy, 1922.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about those early years. Was her musical talent obvious right away?
It seems so. From a young age, Tebaldi was very drawn to music. And her mother, who was a singer and a piano teacher, she really played this, this very important role by giving her that early exposure to music. And this foundation was really, essential in nurturing her talent.
So that early influence was key. And from there, she went on to pursue formal training at the Arrigo Boito Conservatory in Parma, if I'm saying that correctly.
Right. Yep.
Which, that speaks volumes on its own, to choose such a prestigious conservatory.
Oh, absolutely. Choosing the Arrigo Boito Conservatory for her formal training, it really shows you her dedication. And it's there that she honed her talent under, some pretty renowned instructors. And really, it solidified her path to becoming a true artist.
Her path wasn't without its challenges, though.
Right.
She contracted polio as a young woman.
Yeah.
Which, that's a potentially devastating setback for anyone, let alone someone pursuing a career as a musician.
Yeah.
How did this experience end up shaping her journey?
Well, I think Tebaldi's battle with polio is a true testament to her resilience and to her passion for music. Imagine the determination that it took to overcome a physical challenge like that. But rather than letting it derail her, it seemed to deepen her resolve.
Yeah.
She was determined to make music no matter what.
And in 1944, she debuted as Elena in Boito's Mefistofele. It seems, in a way, fitting that she made her debut in the wake of this adversity.
It does, doesn't it? Her debut, it came at a time when, the world was kind of emerging from the shadows of World War II, and it marked the beginning of this incredible career that would just, shine so brightly on the world of opera.
It was also a time of such immense change and rebuilding.
Yeah.
Particularly in Europe.
Yeah. After the war, the arts played such a crucial role in, healing and renewal, right? And opera, in Italy especially, really experienced this huge resurgence. And Tebaldi's career, it unfolded against this backdrop. So her voice became this symbol of hope, and revival.
And then, a pretty pivotal moment, she captured the attention of, Arturo Toscani, of all people.
Right. Toscanini, I mean, talk about, a giant in the conducting world.
Yeah.
But he hears Tebaldi and is immediately captivated and famously dubbed her voice as that of an angel, la voce d'angelo, as he put it.
Yeah.
And that praise from such a respected figure, that kind of praise catapults her into the spotlight.
Almost like Toscani's blessing bestowed this legitimacy to her talent, right?
Yeah. It did. It definitely elevated her status in the opera world. And her performance at the reopening of La Scala in Milan in 1946, that was huge. It was a major event marking Italy's recovery after the war. And it solidified her position as, a rising star. I mean, imagine the pressure of that moment, right?
Yeah.
A young soprano praised by Toscanini at La Scala as it reopens its doors to a nation eager for beauty and healing.
And you really can't overstate the significance of La Scala in the opera world.
Oh, no. La Scala, it's more than just an opera house. It's a symbol of Italian cultural identity. And for Tebaldi to have achieved that level of success there says so much about her talent and the impact she had.
And she then went on to achieve even more acclaim internationally, especially with her debut at the Metropolitan Opera in New York in 1955. What would you say resonated so strongly with American audiences?
I think American audiences were drawn to the same qualities that captivated people in Europe. That warmth to her voice, her remarkable technical control, and her ability to just convey the emotion in a role. It was just heartbreaking, but so sincere.
Yeah.
She became a favorite at the Met so quickly. Her performances are legendary for a reason, that emotional depth, that vocal brilliance.
Her arrival in New York also kind of inevitably led to these comparisons with another great soprano of the time, Maria Callas.
Yeah.
And the rivalry, whether it was real or imagined, it was certainly publicized.
Yeah.
How would you say their styles differed?
It makes sense, right? The comparisons with Callas, they were both so prominent at the time.
Yeah.
But their approach to opera was, it was really quite distinct.
Oh, absolutely.
Callas, she was renowned for that dramatic intensity, you know, and her willingness to really push those vocal boundaries.
Right.
And that almost theatrical stage presence she had. But Tebaldi, she was, I think, representative of a more, traditional approach. Emphasizing that vocal beauty and that emotional sincerity, all within the score.
So it was almost a clash of styles as much as anything.
Exactly. Callas brought this raw energy, almost dangerous to her performances.
Yeah.
But Tebaldi, she offered this purity, this grace.
Right.
And it's fascinating because both approaches resonated with audiences, and it really highlights the diversity of taste there is in the opera world.
Yeah, it speaks to how subjective art is, don't you think? There's no one right way to do it, to interpret a role or convey an emotion.
No, not at all. And the fact that both Callas and Tebaldi achieved what they did, during the same period, it really speaks to their unique talents and how much the public appreciated those different styles of opera, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember, too, that even though there was this rivalry that the media loved to portray, there was a level of mutual respect between the two.
That's a good point to make. It wasn't just animosity, one trying to outdo the other.
Exactly. They both recognized the artistry in each other, even if their approaches were different.
Right.
They were both deeply committed to their craft and to the power of opera, right? To move people.
And Tebaldi's commitment to her craft is really evident in the roles that she chose.
Yeah.
Roles that played to her strengths as a vocalist, as an actress.
For sure.
Our sources highlight a few key operas. Desdemona in Otello, Aida in Aida, Tosca in Tosca, and Mimi in La Bohème.
Right.
What stands out, would you say, about those performances, about those specific works?
Well, I think those roles, they show Tebaldi's range, her ability to embody these characters with such, emotional depth. Take Desdemona, for example, from Verdi's Otello, right?
Right.
She conveyed Desdemona's, that innocence, that vulnerability, but with this heartbreaking fragility, and it made her tragic fate that much more potent, And then there's Aida, this Ethiopian princess. She's torn between love and loyalty. And Tebaldi, she brought this regal bearing, this inner strength to Aida, and her voice soaring over those grand choruses with this commanding presence.
Yeah, incredible.
And of course, her Tosca.
Right.
That fiery opera singer caught up in all this intrigue. Tebaldi's Tosca was passionate and vulnerable, and her rendition of Visit Art, where Tosca begs God for mercy, it's it was captivating, really captivating.
It seems like she had this gift for inhabiting these tragic heroines, you know?
She really did. And she never, ever resorted to melodrama or any kind of vocal histrionics. There was a truth, this rawness to her emotion, and it connected with people. It was like she was letting the audience experience all these characters, all their joys, all their sorrows alongside her. And then there's Mimi, this frail seamstress in La Boheme, and her portrayal was just heartbreaking because there was this tenderness, this vulnerability, and her voice, I mean, we know she's capable of such power, but it could break your heart with its fragility in that role.
Technically speaking, what was it about her voice that made it so well suited for these types of roles?
Well, Tebaldi had a voice. It was remarkably warm, rich, and agile. I mean, her bel canto training really comes through in those smooth legato lines, her diction, that breath control. She could hold those long, expressive phrases that just define Italian opera, and it seemed effortless.
Right.
And her voice, it was equally capable of these delicate pianissimos and then these soaring high notes, and that let her navigate all the emotional complexities of these roles with such nuance and power.
It's almost as if her technique, it was always there in service of the emotion. It wasn't drawing attention to itself. It was just enhancing the drama that was already there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. There was just this seamlessness to her singing, this effortlessness that made it seem like the music was just, well, it was flowing directly from her soul.
Wow. Given how much acclaim she received on stage, I'm not surprised she had such a prolific recording career as well.
No. And those recordings they're treasures, really, capturing that magic for, well, forever. I think one of the most celebrated is her collaboration with Herbert von Karajan on Puccini's La Boheme.
Yeah.
And then there's Francesco Molinari Pladelli on Verdi's La Forza del Destino. And those recordings they're considered definitive of those works. And of course, there's her Tosca, her Aida, and her Madama Butterfly. I mean, essential listening for anyone who loves opera.
Yeah.
And you get to hear, I don't know, I guess the full range of her vocal and dramatic abilities.
It's hard to talk about her career without mentioning all the awards, the recognition that she received.
Oh, yeah. And that list it's long, really reflects the esteem she was held in.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a Cavaliere di Gran Croce, one of Italy's highest honors, and she got the gold medal of the city of Milan, which, well, became her home.
Right.
But she got countless awards from institutions around the world, which I think shows her international impact.
Yeah. What I think is striking is that with all this fame, she seemed to remain grounded. I don't know, her personal life is marked with a certain humility, a dedication to what she did.
Yeah. Tebaldi, she was, notoriously private, but people who knew her, they talk about her kindness, her generosity, this real dedication to her art. She never forgot what was important, always remembered how music could connect us to something bigger than ourselves. And she stayed close to her family, especially her mother, who was such a huge part of her musical journey from the beginning.
It's amazing, isn't it?
She never married. She devoted herself to her career and to just being excellent.
Right.
And it reminds you that behind all the grand performances, the awards, there's a human story, a life lived with passion and purpose.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And it's interesting how her story, it's more than just technical mastery, right? It represents an era, a style. But there's this timelessness to her dedication to what she did.
It's true. And I think Tebaldi's legacy, it reaches beyond the opera house even.
Oh, yes.
She embodies this power of perseverance, this unwavering dedication. I mean, she fought through polio to achieve international acclaim. It's really a testament to her strength, her resilience.
It really is.
And she's a good reminder, I think, that, limitations, even physical ones, don't define us.
Absolutely.
With enough determination and passion, we can overcome obstacles and achieve incredible things.
It's that dedication.
Yeah.
That singular focus almost that's so inspiring. It's like she poured everything into her art.
She did. And through that, she touched so many lives.
I bet.
I mean, people, the ones lucky enough to see her perform, they talk about being transported, about feeling that raw emotion and it resonating with them. And, those of us who found her through recordings, her voice, it still has that power to move you, to connect you to something bigger.
What would you say is her most enduring legacy? If you had to, boil it down, what is it about Tebaldi that you think still resonates with people, with opera lovers today?
I think it's that she was able to connect to the very heart of opera, to convey those raw human emotions, the core of these works. She wasn't just singing notes, right? She was sharing these stories, experiences, her vulnerabilities, her triumphs. She reminds us that great art, it transcends time.
Yeah.
And that it can touch us all so personally, and that's worth celebrating.
It goes way beyond opera, too. And you say it's a testament to human expression in general, how one person, to their art form, can move others.
Exactly. And Tebaldi's story is, well, it's that testament to the power of the human spirit, the beauty, and the potential of art to transform us.
For those listening who might be new to opera or maybe curious to explore more, where would you recommend they start with Tebaldi?
Her recordings are, well, like I said, they're a treasure.
Right.
They offer a real glimpse into what she created on stage. I would say start with Puccini's La Bohème with Herbert von Karajan,
Okay.
or Verdi's La Forza del Destino with Francesco Molinari Pradelli. Those recordings really highlight how brilliant she was and how deeply she understood the music.
And then from there?
Oh, go for it. Tosca, Aida, Madama Butterfly, they're each, a masterclass in how to use your voice and how to express emotion.
So much to learn from her. Not even just about opera, but about her approach to her craft, to life on and off the stage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tebaldi's life, her career, there are lessons there about dedication, perseverance, the pursuit of really being excellent in whatever you do. And she reminds us that it takes more than talent. It takes discipline, it takes hard work, and a true love for what you do.
Yeah.
She shows us that vulnerability. Well, it can be a strength. And connecting with that part of ourselves, well, it allows us to connect with the world in a deeper way, I think.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what final thought would you leave us with?
Go beyond the accolades, Go beyond the recordings even. And just look for those moments in art, in music, in your own life where you feel something real, something that connects you to something larger than yourself.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the best way to honor Renata Tebaldi, to allow her artistry to inspire us to look for those experiences and to appreciate them when we find them.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.